Yo, what's good, gangsters? Today, I'm going to be talking about all of the comics that I've read during this month of August. I took a little bit of a break from making videos or worrying about that, and I've just been reading whenever I want to read, whatever I want to read. But I'm back. I'm going to try to make some more videos here soon. Just had the itch to make some videos. So, anyway, I'm going to start right into this because there's a lot of shit that I need to show off today. This isn't going to be in any particular order because I don't remember exactly when I read these. I just know that they were this month. And I'm just going to be briefly talking about them because, like I said, there's just a fuck ton of them. So, first thing I got, Spider-Man Blue, Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, absolute classic. I picked this up when it was reprinted back in June, I believe. I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought it was pretty cool. The art is fantastic as always. I did not enjoy it as much as I did Daredevil Yellow, which is the other one that's been reprinted this year as a part of the new color series line that they're doing. The next one up is Hulk Gray, which I'm excited for. That is next month here in September, which I have pre-ordered. But anyway, neither here nor there. I mean, it's just classic Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale. Definitely in this one, I mean, I still enjoyed it. I've never read like classic 60s and I guess maybe 70s Spider-Man stuff. I'm not too familiar with Spider-Man actually. Despite his popularity, I just haven't read much by him, or of him rather. So it was cool seeing kind of like a, I guess, condensed version of some of those classic Spider-Man stories, as it did with Daredevil Yellow, and I'm assuming it'll do with Hulk Gray and Captain America White. That's coming out at the end of the year. But yeah, I don't know, just something about it. It was fun. It was good, but it just wasn't nearly as good in my opinion as Daredevil Yellow, which I don't know if that's a common opinion or not, but yeah, it's just how I felt. But yeah, it was still pretty good. Definitely worth the read. Next thing I'm going to talk about is something that I was thoroughly surprised by, and that is Hitmonkey. I was very surprised. I think last year, I started watching the show that they did on Hulu, and I didn't know that it was like a Marvel Comics character at first, but then I found that out, and apparently it's just kind of like a one-off character. I don't think Hitmonkey has had very many appearances. It's just kind of like a, I don't know, kind of a random Marvel character. But anyways, earlier this summer, I went to Second and Charles and I found this trade that they did. I didn't know they had a trade of it that collects the one-shot of Hitmonkey as well as like the 3-issue mini-series of it. And yeah, Hitmonkey is fucking dope. I will say the show expands upon it a lot more, and it's almost like a comedic spin on it. Like, I don't know, it's like an adult animation. It's super violent and it's awesome. I never actually finished the show. But yeah, no, the source material is still pretty good. This was extremely fun, and if you want something light to read, like I read this in like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. Like, it's super quick read. It's just really fun and action-packed. Yeah, Hitmonkey is awesome. I just wish there was more Hitmonkey out there. Moving on, I continued with my X-Men journey this month. I continued reading with Astonishing X-Men, which I have the other Epic Collection, the second one behind me. I don't know, I didn't pull it off the shelf because I thought I'd just, you know, this one Epic Collection represents the whole series. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I actually liked it more than New X-Men, which I read probably back in January or February as one of my first X-Men reading experiences, and I enjoyed that too. But yeah, Grant Morrison's just weird. I'm not the biggest fan of his writing style. There was some confusing shit. Some of it was just kind of out there. But what I really like about Astonishing X-Men is it still feels like a more mature, modern take on the X-Men, but it doesn't really, it's not weird to be weird like I think Grant Morrison does in New X-Men. It's very much streamlined, and it's just all around a good X-Men story. It doesn't necessarily, the simplicity of it doesn't betray the good writing, you know. And of course, it's got amazing art with John Cassidy on the art. It's just damn near perfect for an X-Men run. I really enjoyed it start to finish. I know one of my friends, Alex, told me that I might, you know, start to think it drags a little in the second half, which I didn't really think so. I thought it was pretty banging all the way through. But, you know, it's not necessarily a necessity, but halfway through Astonishing X-Men, you are technically supposed to read the House of M, which it's not really mentioned much. I mean, you can read this all the way through without reading House of M. It's barely mentioned, but chronologically, House of M does take place between the first half of Astonishing X-Men and the second. But I read House of M as well. It wasn't necessarily an unwanted detour because I was very excited to check it out. Yeah, House of M is fucking peak. Also, Bendis, at least, you know, early 2000s Bendis, you know, he knows what's going on. I really enjoyed it. I like that Wolverine was kind of center stage. You guys know I'm a Wolverine stan. He's my goat. But yeah, him kind of being the main character and being one of the only people that remembers how everything is supposed to be. I'm not gonna, you know, spoil too much. I don't want to spoil too much with these sort of mini reviews, but it definitely gave me some like Days of Future Past vibes, but obviously, you know, a little bit different. It's not necessarily time travel as much as it is like an alternate timeline, or not even timeline, it's the same timeline, but you guys know what I mean, like a different sort of reality, I guess, without giving too much away. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did think maybe the ending was just a little bit rushed of the event. But yeah, it was like the first, I don't know, half was just perfect. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it all the way through for the most part. House of M is one of the better events that I've read. The next thing I have to talk about is going to be Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith. I've been putting this comic off for way too long, and I finally read it this month, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, it didn't absolutely blow me away, but it was still really fun. It almost felt like a bit of almost like a found footage horror movie, except like the horror monster being Wolverine. And so you're following the dialogue between these scientists as time goes by, as they're testing on Wolverine and you know, the Weapon X project, which does later get expanded upon in New X-Men. But yeah, this is sort of where that backstory begins, and it was really cool. Barry Windsor Smith did an amazing job on the art. It's just iconic. I love the colors, just everything about the art specifically, and the writing isn't bad either. But if we're talking about these sort of classic Wolverine must-read stories, I would personally put this above Claremont and Miller's 1982, like, what's it called, miniseries that inspired the Wolverine movie. I didn't care for that one as much. It was still okay, but I would definitely say Weapon X is better in my opinion. But yeah, no, Weapon X was good. I did finally get to it. But yeah, look at this cover too, just mean mugging on there. Yeah, Wolverine is fucking awesome. Now, we've got one of my favorite reads that I read recently, and that is Planet Hulk. What an awesome story. It's basically what Thor Ragnarok is very loosely based on, with like the Gladiator Hulk stuff. But essentially, Hulk gets sent off to this desolate planet, or what they believed to be desolate. All of like the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and specific figures of Marvel superhero society sort of betray the Hulk because they're scared of his ferocious power, and they send him off, basically exile him off world, and he crash lands on this planet, but it turns out it's inhabited by different, you know, alien tribes and shit, and they enslave him. And there's this prophecy though about the World Breaker and the Green Scar and all that stuff. It's a planet called Sakaar, and essentially Hulk starts out as like a gladiator slave and then starts a rebellion and ends up becoming a warrior king, and yeah, leading, like, there's a huge war against these aliens on this planet. It's a sci-fi fantasy sort of epic that just so happens to have Hulk in the center stage. And it's absolutely amazing. One of my favorite Marvel comics I've ever read. I really like Hulk as a character, but I don't know, this situation that they put him in, that Greg Pak put him in this, was just absurdly entertaining, especially with my background, as you can see, in science fiction and fantasy. This definitely tickled my fancy. It gave me like Dune vibes, or even like Sun Eater kind of vibes with the gladiator stuff. But yeah, no, it was fantastic. And leading into World War Hulk, of course, which I'm not really going to talk about because it would spoil Planet Hulk completely, I would say. But yeah, this is badass. It's just a really fun next, like, it's basically the sequel to Planet Hulk. It's just like almost like Hulk versus everyone, almost like it gives me like what they've been doing recently with the Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. It's similar to that, except it was done, at least I believe it was done like way before that. But yeah, this was just a cool story. Just tons of fun action and destruction and scale. And yeah, just fun seeing the follow-up to Planet Hulk. And then taking a break from the Marvel trades, let's go into some indie stuff. Oh shit, there's one thing I forgot up there on my shelf, which I'll get it down in a minute. The only DC book that I read this month, whatever. Anyways, talking about some indie now. I read the first trade volume of Void Rivals. I wasn't super impressed with this. I know everybody talks about the Energon universe being absolutely fantastic. I love the Transformers run by Daniel Warren Johnson. I haven't gotten around to G.I. Joe yet, or any of like the little like mini series that lead up to the main series. Void Rivals, I was expecting to be awesome. I mean, it's fucking Robert Kirkman, right? And maybe I just need to let this series cook. I'm probably gonna get the second trade at some point, but this first volume, it was okay, but it didn't really leave me begging for more necessarily. It was good for the most part, but like I said, I don't know. It didn't click with me as hard as Transformers did. But yeah, I mean, everybody says Void Rivals is absolute peak, so I'm gonna at least give it another trade, and if I don't like the second trade as much, then yeah, maybe Void Rivals just isn't for me, sadly. But it wasn't bad, it just didn't really hook me. Moving on, we've got The Moon is Following Us by Daniel Warren Johnson. Was just talking about this guy. This is one of the last Daniel Warren Johnson books I needed to read, to have read everything by him. I have to read the Jurassic League, which I don't really fucking care about that. But technicalities, as far as stuff that like he's done creator-owned stuff, I've read everything by him now. But yeah, The Moon is Following Us. I enjoyed it. It's extremely creative. The backstory is surprisingly dark. I don't know. It's just really interesting. Of course, the art is absolute peak. I don't know. It just spews creativity because it all takes place in like this dream world. But there's tons of action and violence as well. It kind of reminds me of like Shark Boy and Lava Girl meets like, I don't even know, man. Like, I'm tempted to say Evil Dead, but like not really. But it's, I don't know. How do I explain it? Like Shark Boy and Lava Girl meets World War Z or some shit. Like, they're fighting these weird, like, dream demon things. I don't even know how to explain it, really, but it's pretty cool. And there's a big cliffhanger at the end of Volume 1, so I am definitely looking forward to Volume 2 at the end of the year, which will wrap up the series.
They're releasing a Reese's and Oreo combo September 2nd.
Like a Reese's flavored Oreo?
Yeah.
Or an Oreo flavored Reese's?
Reese's flavored Oreo.
Dude.
I set a reminder. It's supposed to be out like September 2nd, so if we go to Target after September 2nd, we should be checking them shelves. At least I will, because I really want to try it. Alright.
Alright, so now, this was, I think, actually the last thing I needed to read by Daniel Warren Johnson, who was mainly on art on here. I mean, anyway, whatever. Ghost Fleet by Donnie Cates and Daniel Warren Johnson. I can tell, though, that, I don't know, either Donnie Cates and Daniel Warren Johnson have a very similar style, which, after reading God Country, I can definitely say that they do. God Country definitely gives me some Daniel Warren Johnson vibes. I didn't realize that these two needed to work together until I read God Country, and then I heard about Ghost Fleet, and I was like, wait a second, that makes a lot of sense. You know, that's kind of a match made in heaven. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is I can tell that Daniel Warren Johnson also had probably quite a bit of creative input when it comes to the story as well. I definitely saw some Daniel Warren Johnson sort of vibes in Donnie Cates' writing. So it was, I can tell that it was very much a collaborative project. At least that's the way it felt to me. I could be absolutely wrong, but if I am wrong, then that just goes to show how much of a, you know, creative, dynamic duo those two turned out to be, because they are, I think, very similar and have some similar vibes in a lot of aspects. Anyway, this is probably the coolest thing that I've read in a second, indie-wise. Yeah, it was just really cool, especially towards the end. I don't want to spoil it, but it takes a bit of like a weird, like, I don't know, a cool like biblical apocalyptic twist that kind of, you know, talks about like the book of Revelation and stuff like that. I don't know, it's just really neat. It's very creative what happened. I don't know, it's almost like a Tarantino film, kinda. Like, it gives me like a Tarantino vibes, but Evil Dead-y. Again, I keep bringing up Evil Dead. I don't know, I guess I just need to watch Evil Dead again. It's been on my mind recently. But there's like, not even Evil Dead-y. I don't know, but there is like some demons and stuff that show up. I don't know, it's hard to explain without giving too much away, but if you want some like hardcore action and like gore and violence and maybe even a little bit of like cool biblical themes, like, even, I mean, I don't mean like religious themes, but like the religious aspect aside, there are some really cool there's some really cool shit that happens in the Bible that it talks about, and the book of Revelations is super dope if you know, read it as like as a concept as opposed to like a real prophecy, I suppose. Like, there's still, regardless of your religion, there are some cool aspects to the Bible, is what I'm getting at. And this definitely takes some liberties with ideas and concepts from the Bible, is what I'm getting at. But if that's your thing, then this is perfect, because, yeah, no, it's really fucking cool. I really enjoyed the Ghost Fleet. Donnie Cates, one of my favorite writers. Everything I've read by him has been pretty solid. I enjoyed, you know, he's always big on, at least his stuff with Marvel. He's big with that cosmic kind of stuff, that, like, big space, like, I don't know, space opera kind of shit, like Cosmic Ghost Rider. He did his Guardians of the Galaxy and Thanos stuff. His take on Thor is definitely a very cosmic sort of vibe. He had Silver Surfer Black, which I have yet to read, but I really want to. And then matched with Daniel Warren Johnson's stories and his art, which always has a lot of heart to it. I don't know, it just meshes very well is what I'm getting at. I'm going on a rant here. But yeah, Ghost Fleet is really dope, and I highly recommend you guys check it out. And the last indie trade I have here today is one that I think was actually the first thing I read this month, if I'm honest. It just so happens to be like the last thing I talk about here. As far as trades, I still have some hardcovers and a couple omnibuses to talk about. We got Jason Aaron, TMNT. I love Jason Aaron's work. Everything that he's doing right now is awesome. Him on Ninja Turtles, him on Bug Wars, which don't even get me started. I'm reading in the single issues, so this isn't really the video for that, but Bug Wars is one of my favorites. Even his work on Absolute Superman, which has been pretty cool as well. I don't like it as much as Bug Wars and TMNT, if I'm honest, but it's still very inventive. It's very cool, fresh. But that's how I feel about Jason Aaron. He's a very fresh writer right now, and I'm very much enjoying most, if not all, of what he's doing. And stuff he's done before, like with Thor, like the God Butcher saga. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I think Thor is probably the only other thing I've read by him. I think it's just those few things. But anyway, everything I've read has been sick. Talking about TMNT though, this was really cool. I haven't read the IDW series, so I'm not exactly sure. There's definitely some context I'm missing here, but the situations that the turtles are in this first volume is really cool. Like, I like that idea of them all kind of being separated and Raphael being in prison. There's a scene where he's like beating people up in prison, and it reminds me a lot of that scene in Daredevil when Frank Castle was in prison, and he's like, everybody knows like the prison fight scene. I feel like that's one of the most famous scenes from that show. And then Donnie in like this underground like mutant like fight club kind of thing where he's like a slave. It reminded me of Preacher a little bit. At least in the show, there was like this weird fight club thing going on. Leo goes off and he's like a monk trying to find purpose, and Mikey becomes like this superstar, like action hero kind of deal in Japan. And then they're all gonna, come together because they've got to. They're all fighting each other. They're mad at each other. I assume some shit happened at the end of the IDW series. Again, I haven't read it. But yeah, no, it's just really fun. And I'm excited for the second volume, which I think, I want to say comes out early next year, which it's a long wait. But I'm excited to see them all come together and actually like do some cool shit, because they did kind of come together here at the very end. But I'm excited to see more of that fleshed out here soon in the second trade. And then now I have the only DC book that I ended up reading this month in August. I have Under the Red Hood. This is the deluxe edition. I'm pretty sure I got this around Christmas time. I found it on a sale on Amazon, and it was the deluxe edition hardcover was cheaper than it was to get the just the normal paperback. So I was like, why not? Or if it wasn't cheaper, then it was only like $5 more or something like that. Besides the point, this has a lot of content, and it has the actual Under the Red Hood storyline. It's got the whole Red Hood like backstory mini-series that came out later. That's a sequel to Under the Red Hood. It's got those few issues from the Hush run where, I'm not going to spoil it just in case for some reason you haven't read Hush, even though it's been out for 25 years or something like that. 20 years, I don't remember, but you guys get what I'm saying. It's got a lot of content in here, overall, I did enjoy it. Red Hood is one of my favorite DC characters. I think he's very fascinating. I just think he's really badass. Like, his design is cool, or at least it used to be cool before they ruined it with like the, like literally like the hoodie with like the Robin mask, like, and like the face. I don't know, what do you call it? I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. Back when he had like the leather jacket with the actual like full helmet, like that shit was dope. Yeah, anyway, Red Hood, Jason Todd, he's pretty cool. One of my favorite DC characters. Sadly, there just isn't a lot of good Red Hood content out there, and this is one of the few good ones. But yeah, I enjoyed like that first, what do you call it? Like that first Red Hood little run at when Batman's like actually like investigating it and looking around and trying to figure out who it is, and everything that happens there in the beginning I thought was really neat. And Black Mask, in my opinion, is a really cool villain. I really started liking his character from Absolute Batman. I wasn't expecting him to be a main focus in this, but he definitely reminds me of like Machine Head from Invincible, who I'm sure is a satire of Black Mask. But yeah, just that sort of absolutely insane, like, criminal mastermind, like, I don't know, just kind of funny, but also, those are like my favorite villains, are the ones that are like funny, but also just terrible people. Whether that be, I don't know, let me think, like Negan from The Walking Dead would be a good example, I would say. But yeah, Black Mask is pretty funny, and he's a good villain in my opinion. But yeah, I thought it was all right. It was all good. Again, didn't necessarily knock my socks off, but it was still a decent read. Yeah, Red Hood's dope. Before I do forget, there was actually a trade I read that I don't currently have because I sold it. Not because I disliked it though. And that first trade that I read was 7 to Eternity by Rick Remender. If I remember, I'll throw up a picture, but if not, you look it up. The reason I got rid of it is because I'm gonna get I have the compendium of it on the way that has the whole series. I really enjoyed that first volume, and I didn't want to get the rest of the volumes when I can just get the compendium for $20 because Image is goated like that. Yeah, I love how like the Image comics pricing structure, for the most part, they always have super affordable comics, and they tend to be just the best quality comics also in the game. As far as the writing and the art, it's always fucking fantastic. I love indie comics, again, especially Image. But yeah, no, 7 to Eternity was really cool. It's like a weird fantasy kind of story. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much just because A, I don't want to spoil it, but B, I haven't read all of it. So as soon as I get that compendium and I read the rest of it, I will definitely be talking about it more in depth at some point. Alright, so now we're going to finish off this video talking about some big boys. We're talking about some hardcovers. We're talking about some omnibuses or omnibuy. I'm not exactly sure what the correct term is. But starting us off, we've got Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1 Omnibus by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. This was perfection. I absolutely loved this omnibus. I just wish Volume 2 wasn't so damn out of print, because I would buy that immediately and read it all. I guess I suppose I could read it on Marvel Unlimited, but who the fuck wants to do that when you can have a big ass comic collection? Which I suppose I could read it and then collect it later on. Whatever. You guys know what I mean. If you've been around on the channel for a while, you know I'm very much a physical media collector when it comes to my literature. But yeah, what to say? I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man here is just such a fresh take on Spider-Man, and it's, you know, it's funny because this version of Spider-Man shit! I just knocked my tripod. Whatever. This version of Spider-Man is kind of what I am used to, but I didn't even really realize it until I read it, because this is essentially what Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man from the early 2000s is based on. There's even a part, I think later on in the run, where Spider-Man is talking to Tobey Maguire about the Spider-Man movie, and it's just kind of like a funny scene. But yeah, it's basically the best version of Spider-Man there is, at least within like the first portion, I would say, of the story. I know that there's a point where it kind of dips in quality from what I've heard, but it goes on for a very long time, just being very good. And this first omnibus was damn near perfect, if not perfect. It's one of the best comics I've ever read. Yeah, it starts from the beginning, of course. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben, the spider bite. Like, it starts from the beginning, and there's a few things that are, you know, a little bit different from, you know, the original Spider-Man story. But everything from like the way that the drama, like the teen drama, sort of soap opera aspect of Spider-Man, is done to perfection. Of the relationship, the love triangles, like all of that shit is done really well. The action's great. And one of my favorite parts is that Bendis has such a great voice for Spider-Man. The way that, you know, he's quipping and just the way he's talking and his inner monologue. Just everything just feels like Spider-Man. It feels perfect. The way that I imagine Spider-Man. It captures the essence of Spider-Man perfectly, in my opinion. And yeah, this is easily one of the best comics I've ever read. I absolutely love Bendis' Ultimate Spider-Man. But yeah, if I were you guys, I would definitely pick up this omnibus while you still can, while it still remains in print. Easily one of the best Marvel comics probably ever written. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have probably one of the most disappointing comics I've ever read, and that is Gwenpool. I have this omnibus here. Yeah, give some context to why I have a big old omnibus of something that I didn't really like. And to be fair, honest, blah, blah, blah. Man, I'm getting ahead of myself. Honestly, I didn't even get to finish this because I just couldn't do it anymore. So I bought this last year, around when I first started getting into comics. I watched a review of Gwenpool by Comic Drake, and him talking about the character and her backstory and sort of like the fourth wall breaking aspects of her character, mixed with like what we come to find out are her actually like powers that warp reality, kinda, and like her mental health, and how that all kind of culminates in what is Gwenpool. I just thought it was all really fascinating. The art style is very vibrant, and I just like I just like the art style. It pops, you know what I mean? But that was around when I first started getting into comics. And since then, I've very much developed taste for comics. I know what I like. I know what I don't like at this point. But I took so long to read this that I'm now finally reading it when I have a pretty solid taste. Not there. I mean, there's a lot of shit that I still, you know, I'm down to read almost anything, right? So I'm not necessarily picky, I would say, but there are definitely things that I know that I like more than others, I suppose. But yeah, how to explain this? It basically felt like, if I can describe what it feels like, if you guys know, just close your eyes and imagine this person, right? You know, one of these Steven Universe fans, like these Tumblr users that are like 20, like imagine it's like 2017, these Steven Universe Undertale fans that are like shipping characters and like fanfic type shit, you know. Imagine that kind of person, blue hair, all that shit, just watched the first Deadpool movie for the first time and was like, ooh, I like Deadpool. I'm gonna do a self-insert like fanfic of Deadpool, like a comedic, like, well, I mean, Deadpool already is a comedic parody, but like a parody of a parody of Deadpool, and then like does it, and it just, I don't know, it just felt icky. There were parts of it that were kind of funny, but I don't know, maybe I like humor in my comics. Shit, I just kicked my tripod again. I don't have a problem with humor in my comics, but this sort of slapstick, like the whole thing is a comedy, and I don't know why I didn't expect that. But the comedy didn't land 100% of the time, and it was just kind of fucking lame. And then it starts trying to talk about like political issues, which I have no problem with presenting, you know, political issues in my comics, but there's a certain way to do it, and just using this sort of like comedic slapstick Gwenpool kind of social justice warrior like approach to talking about these important issues, it just didn't work. It just felt super cringe. Yeah, I just didn't like it. So I think I got like a third of the way through the omnibus before I dropped it. I think I was like 7 issues in, which doesn't sound like a lot, but within this omnibus there's a bunch of tie-in stuff. So there's like several issues worth of tie-ins, and yeah, I don't know. I didn't get far into like the main series because I was busy reading a lot of the tie-ins that there are. Yeah, I couldn't do it. It was fucking lame. I know Gwenpool has become sort of like a cult classic character. Like there's definitely a large appeal, well, I say a large appeal, but there's a niche, very like I said, a cult audience for Gwenpool, people that absolutely love her, I'm sure. So if you're one of those people and you want this omnibus, which is currently out of print, let me know, because I'm trying to get rid of this and buy something that's more to my taste. I just couldn't fucking care less about Gwenpool. I really enjoyed the concept. I liked the concept of it when I bought it, but now that I'm actually getting around to reading it, it was lame. Not my thing. I would rather read more Ultimate Spider-Man. Give me Planet Hulk. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need slapstick comedy social justice warrior. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just my thing. It just wasn't handled very well or tactfully, I don't think. And finally, I'm talking about the last book I read. Not nearly as big. It's not an omnibus. It's still a hardcover though, but I wanted to save it for last because this is the most recent thing I read. I read it like 2 days ago. I finally started reading Scott Pilgrim. This is the first volume of like the full color edition. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Scott Pilgrim. I've never actually read the source material, but I've seen the movie a handful of times. I enjoy it all the time. Every time I've watched it, I've watched the new cartoon that they came out with, I think a year or two ago. I really enjoyed that, sort of like that alternate telling of the story. It was really neat, but actually getting to read the comic is a bit of a different experience. Yeah, I mean, in this first volume, there's definitely some noticeable changes that they did from the movie. Notable changes that they did in the movie from the comic. But most of it has just been kind of shot for shot. Like, it's exactly the same as the movie for the most part. Like I said, there are some minor changes. But I'm more excited to get further into the series, where I'm hoping there are some more blatant changes and added content that was forced to be left out of the movie. But as of now, in this first volume, it's basically the same. So I am gonna start reading volume 2 here soon. I haven't actually started it yet. I've been busy with school stuff and work, so I haven't been able to get into it like I want to, but hopefully I'll finish Scott Pilgrim this coming week, maybe this weekend or something. But yeah, guys, that is about it. That is everything I read during August. It was a ton. I'm surprised that I managed to get through all that, but there were some days where I would just sit down and read a couple trades back to back. Which, yeah, I mean, and then there would be some days where I didn't read it all, but I just kind of read whatever I wanted to, whenever I wanted to. Kind of took my time with it, but I managed to get out quite a bit, and yeah, wanted to talk about it. So thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.